Chapter 31, acted like pretentious pricks and got slapped in the face. Uncle, excuse me, may I ask whether there are wild animals strolling around this hill? Tang Xiu respectfully asked a farmer at Walled Hill Village's foot. Do you want to eat game meat? There are a lot of wild games on the hill. On the ground, you can find pheasants, hares, and wild boars. In midstream, you can find wild turtles, alligators, and giant salamanders. You can find more for flying games. The old farmer inhaled his tobacco pipe and spat out a thick smoke as he answered leisurely. Having heard the old man's words, it made Tang Xiu overjoyed. The locals sure are the ones more familiar with the situation in the surroundings. He had spent half a night in the hilltop and couldn't find anything. He didn't expect to get such a big harvest by asking the locals. After Tang Xiu asked where to find these wild animals, the old farmer took a long sigh, but alas, that was the situation in a few years ago. Because there are too many people hunting the wild animals in this hill, they scared them away, and now there are only a few of them on the hill. Even if there are some, people can't find any traces of them now. The old farmer's words were just like cold water from the sky, making Tang Xiu's heart turn cold. The smile that just emerged on his face instantly vanished. After having said goodbye politely to the old farmer, Tang Xiu started asking the other locals. But he didn't expect that even though he had asked a dozen of farmers on Hill's Foot Village, he didn't get the answers he wanted, causing him to nearly fall into despair. If even the locals hadn't heard of any rumors about fierce beasts here, didn't this mean that Walled Hill Village really didn't have any fierce beasts? Tang Xiu was a perfectionist in nature. He had always been pursuing everything to perfection and reached the ultimate peak. He didn't find any traces of fierce beasts last night, which meant that the body-refining liquid he wanted to concoct lacked one last ingredient. He didn't want to accept this fact and finally decided to leave a note to ask for a leave, as he left school in the afternoon and visited Walled Hill Village again. Since he didn't get any useful information from the farmers in the village at the hill's foot, Tang Xiu directly headed straight to the hilltop and explored the hill by himself. Steep overhanging cliffs surrounded Walled Hill Village. It was more than 500 meters above sea level and 200 meters above flat ground. The high terrain was surrounded by different raised flatlands, giving off the feeling of a terraced mountain. This kind of terrain was extremely rare in the Shuangqing province. Zhang Xianzhong once occupied Walled Hill Village and declared himself king of this place. He built the city walls, city gates, as well as constructed the Li family ancestral hall, the fence-split stone, official buildings, a fort, the Goddess of Mercy temple, and other buildings. Therefore, the hill had a winding and complicated path all the way to the top. However, because the path was too winding and long, Tang Xiu didn't traverse along the road but chose to climb up the hill. Along the way, Tang Xiu saw a few turtle doves in the depths of the wood. He was also almost bit by vipers and scorpions, which could make other people overjoyed when they saw them. Unfortunately, the one that Tang Xiu wanted to find were fierce beasts, rather than sate his appetite for game meat. So these wild animals didn't interest him in the slightest bit. Half an hour later, Tang Xiu successfully climbed to the top with a few turtles, hares, and a dozen of snakes. His school bag was also filled up with scorpions and a variety of rare and precious medicinal herbs. At first, Tang Xiu didn't plan to hunt the games on the hill, but since he thought about his family's restaurant and his mother's malnourished body, he took and carried these games although he didn't need them. He just conveniently hunted the wild animals he could see. Hey, kid, you're good. The 5 of us could only hunt 2 rabbits, but you actually caught a lot of turtles and snakes? Kid, how about you sell those games in your hand? Say the price, we'll buy all of them. Kid, from your clothes, you must be one of the locals. Give us the games, we'll buy it. When Tang Xiu had just stood and straightened up his body, 5 people surrounded him and looked at the turtles and vipers in his hands with hot and boiling eyes. The only things that they didn't do yet was rob them from his hands. Upon seeing that Tang Xiu climbed up from under the overhanging cliff and didn't seem to have a car, these people subconsciously thought that Tang Xiu was one of the local farmers that hunted games in the hill for pocket money, and talked to him with an arrogant manner and words. They looked at Tang Xiu in a condescending manner and didn't even have the slightest respect for him. "I'm sorry, but these games are for my humble home. I can't sell them to you." Tang Xiu faintly glanced at the 5 people that surrounded him and didn't hesitate to refuse. Tang Xiu could clearly see 3 cars off-road, the all-terrain vehicles parked near the roadside. The Wrangler, the Land Rover, and the Mercedes-Benz. Thus, it could be seen that these people were wealthy and had high statuses. Tang Xiu didn't want to provoke them and simply cut off their words as to not to tangle him again. However, Tang Xiu underestimated these people's determination to get his game. "Hey, boy, how much do you sell these games to others for?" "We'll double the price." "Name your price and we'll pay you." A young man in a flowered patterned shirt stared at Tang Xiu and spoke confidently. "A man must keep his own words. Even if you give me a lot of cash, I will not sell these games to you." Upon seeing the flowered patterned shirt's youth's gaze that it was just like he wanted to eat him, Tang Xiu subconsciously knitted his brows and frowned. "Please make way, I'm going down the hill." Previously, Tang Xiu also intended to practice in the spiritual vein in this place for a while, but since the vein spot was being occupied, he gave up the thought and planned to do it another day. "Oh, we'll only buy some then, and you can take the rest to your home. And we'll also buy it from you for a high price, so you can make money as well as keep your words to your family." The youth in the flowered patterned shirt gave his advice and smiled. Having heard the youth's reasoning, as well as he didn't want to get pestered anymore by these people, Tang Xiu was about to nod and comply with him. But a rude voice interrupted him when he was about to nod. "Shui Renfei, you've been getting more and more boring lately. Why must you haggle with this dirty kid? It's just some games, we don't need to pay it, just take it from him." The one who was talking was a guy with a fierce-looking face and with 1.9 meters in height, looking like an iron tower. "Zhang Yongjin is right. The whole walled hill village is ours. Let alone these games, even though he doesn't want to, he must hand over those games to us." "Hey, kid, those turtles are protected animals by the state's laws. It's illegal to catch them. Do you want us to drag you out to the police station?" The other 3 youths burst into loud laughter along with the towering Zhang Yongjin's speech, whilst also looking at Tang Xiu with a ridiculing expression. They wanted to see how Tang Xiu dealt with the current situation. Shui Renfei turned silent instantly. He obviously didn't expect that his companions would choose to threaten and intimidate Tang Xiu, since he usually had always been using money to resolve the problems silently. But Shui Renfei didn't interfere with his companion's pleasure since he had given this peasant youth a chance. It was him that didn't cherish the opportunity. "You think doing this is very interesting, don't you?" When Shui Renfei and his gang thought that this peasant youth would be scared shitless, the youth unexpectedly sized them up one by one and revealed a teasing smile. Why you, what the fuck are you talking about?" Zhang Yongjin was so dumbfounded that even his voice stuck up when he saw that this peasant youth was not acting according to the scenario, in their imagination. The others also stared with a dumbstruck expression as they looked at each other and didn't seem to grasp the way the matter went. "I just think that you all are doing this out of boredom." Tang Xiu smiled and explained in a soft voice, "First of all, robbing from others is wrong, much less that you might not be able to snatch these games from me. Secondly, you didn't need to scare me by taking me to the police station. I also know some people there. Finally, Walled Hill Village belongs to the state, it's not yours yet. Only after you got the development rights can you have the rights to say those words." Tang Xiu calmly left after speaking these words. Only until Tang Xiu's shadow disappeared did Shui Renfei, Zhang Yongjin, and the others react to what had happened. Holy *T. What the F*** K was that? Did we just literally get slapped? This won't do, weren't the ones who were oppressing him, us? How could kids these days be so brash and wild? Hell no. I can't take his tone. I don't believe I can't teach this country bumpkin bastard a lesson. Some of them bursted and roared in rage as they rushed to board the cars and wanted to give an unforgettable lesson, for a lifetime to Tang Xiu. After having chased him for a few minutes and not even seeing Tang Xiu, Shui Renfei and his gang then realized that the one that they were after was on foot. They also remembered that they were strolling around the hill on foot and only got a poor harvest before Tang Xiu slapped them with his words. Having lost interest to continue hunting, they roared curses in their talks while walking down the hill. As the few cars gradually disappeared on the winding road, a figure then jumped down from a pine tree on the hilltop. Tang Xiu had not really left and walked down the hill, but he headed toward a remote corner to hide. At first, Tang Xiu intended to temporarily leave the hilltop and come back another day. But when he accidentally saw the weary looks from Shui Renfei and his gang's faces, he concluded that they had stayed too long on the hilltop, so he gave up his plan to leave the hill. Tang Xiu especially asked for a leave of absence for a day because he wanted to completely explore Walled Hill Village. Naturally, he didn't want to return empty-handed. This is too much, he requested a leave in this crucial time and didn't ask permission from me and just ran away. Isn't this the same as ditching school? While Tang Xiu was leisurely exploring Walled Hill Village, Han Qinggu was almost raging in anger when she snatched the leave of absence slip from Yuan Chuling. Yuan Chuling, you're his good friend. How can you let him do this irresponsible thing? Why didn't you prevent and advise him before, while condemning Tang Xiu's bad behavior? Han Qinggu quickly pointed her muzzle toward Yuan Chuling, as if it was Yuan Chuling who was inciting Tang Xiu to ditch school. Had it been Hu Qiuxing who dared to yell at him like this, Yuan Chuling would have scolded back and directly left. But facing Han Qinggu's indictment, Yuan Chuling was just like a primary school student who had just made mistakes and was afraid to even breathe. Teacher Han, you cannot blame Yuan Chuling for this. Tang Xiu only left the absence slip and ran away. He didn't even give us the chance to speak. Seeing the class-in-charge teacher reprimand Yuan Chuling and seemingly wouldn't stop even after half a day, Chang Yannan reminded with a soft voice from the side. Actually, Tang Xiu had already suspected that his leave would push the consequences to Yuan Chuling. So he gave his leave of absence slip directly to Chang Yannan and asked her to give it to the class-in-charge teacher. However, Chang Yannan thought that Tang Xiu was only joking to her and then gave the slip to Yuan Chuling. When Han Qinggu had just entered the classroom, the insufficient nerves brainless Yuan Chuling gave it directly to Han Qinggu, and then dragged himself into a devastating storm cast by Han Qinggu. Chapter 32, A Shrewd Well-Behaved Mommy's Boy. After Han Qinggu had vented her anger for a while, she also knew that she had wrongly blamed Yuan Chuling, and looked at Yuan Chuling with an apologetic expression. Yuan Chuling's marks might not be as exaggerated as Tang Xiu's, but he also passed the exam with 476 points on this monthly test. She knew that the last monthly exam's difficulties were very high. The students who got more than 550 points were only 27 out of the whole third year. With 476 points, Yuan Chuling was ranked in the top 300s. He was also one of 5 students from Class 10 who entered the top 300 rankings. Yuan Chuling, Tang Xiu didn't stay in his dormitory last night. He requested a leave of absence today. Do you know what matter he was leaving for in a hurry? Han Qinggu asked. I don't know that. Yuan Chuling was a day student. He didn't know that Tang Xiu left the dorm last night. But when he remembered about the smashing accident at Tang Xiu family's restaurant, a trace of a panicked expression flashed from his eyes. You are lying, you definitely know the reason. Tell me quickly. Has Tang Xiu encountered any problems? Han Qinggu asked nervously since she keenly caught the changes in Yuan Chuling's complexion. Yuan Chuling, if Tang Xiu really has run into problems, you must tell us. You don't want Tang Xiu to have any unexpected accidents at such a critical time like the college entrance test, right? Having heard the dialogues between Han Qingwu and Yuan Chuling, Chang Yannan's also voiced the concerns in her heart. A trace of nervousness also filled Yuan Chuling's heart when he saw the tense expression in Han Qingwu and Chang Yannan's faces, since the shadow that related to Tang Xiu's smashed restaurant was the first thing that came into his mind. After hesitating for a short while, Yuan Chuling told them about Tang Xiu's restaurant smashing incident. Han Qingwu and Chang Yannan were greatly shocked when they suddenly heard that Tang Xiu's restaurant was bashed. They quickly dragged Yuan Chuling out of the classroom and asked Yuan Chuling to take them to Tang Xiu's restaurant. Half an hour later, Han Qingwu's car parked on the roadside in front of the restaurant's entrance. But she was stunned when seeing the bustling and lively situation at the restaurant. Yuan Chuling, are you sure you didn't take us to the wrong place? Chang Yannan also felt something was wrong as she asked with a doubtful expression. Yes, I came here 2 days ago. The entire dining hall was smashed broken, and also there were bloodstains in the dining hall since I went in and beat 2 people out of rage. The same surprised expression also struck Yuan Chuling. But the present scene in front of him was really beyond Yuan Chuling's imagination. Judging by the state when the restaurant was just smashed, there was no way the restaurant would be opened in a few days. However, the restaurant now was not only normally opened for business, but it also was bustling and lively. The hardwood planks to decorate the restaurant's interior for 3 walls and ceiling will cost at least 200,000 yuan. A 100 square meters floor, covered with Marco Polo ceramic tiles, cost at least 100,000 yuan. 30 sets of hardwood tables and chairs are estimated at least 200,000 yuan, while the soft clothes and equipment will cost at least 5 to 600,000 yuan. The business also looks flourishing. Not only the 18 tables inside the restaurant are completely full, but they have lined up by at least 6 tables long outside the restaurant. Even if the profit for each table was only 50 yuan, but this restaurant's daily net profit would at least reach 20,000. When Yuan Chuling was still wondering how the restaurant suddenly changed, Han Qingwu's voice suddenly sounded in his ear. Yuan Chuling, you don't feel that your lies are too ridiculous, huh? If this restaurant really belongs to Tang Xiu's family, will he even have to face difficult times in school and be unable to pay his tuition? Yuan Chuling was still puzzled as to why his class-in-charge teacher was calculating the restaurant's interior and exterior decoration, and the profit, but suddenly Han Qingwu's voice turned cold and scolded him in a stern voice. This. I really don't know how could it be like this, but what I've told you before is really the truth. Yuan Chuling was at loss and didn't know what to say. Get off. And go back to school by yourself. If you are late for the evening class, give me 1,000 lines of self-critics and regret. Han Qingwu was too disinclined to listen to Yuan Chuling's explanation as she commanded in a cold tone. I'll go inside there to see what's going on, and look for the owner. This was the first time Yuan Chuling saw Han Qingwu became so angry. Under her sharp and fierce gaze, Yuan Chuling frantically got out of the car as he spoke in a trembling voice. Han Qingwu pressed the gas pedal even though Yuan Chuling had yet to finish his words as her VW Touareg quickly pierced through into the traffic flow. Only until they disappeared did Yuan Chuling realize that his wallet and cell phone were on his school desk, leaving him with not even a penny right now. It will take at least an hour on foot from here to school. I'll definitely be late for the evening class. Man, it seems like that I'll have to write that damn self-critics. Yuan Chuling silently calculated the distance from the restaurant to school, and his face turned into a red bitter melon color. Oh. Ling, is that you? I thought I mistakenly saw someone else. What are you doing standing outside? Come, sit here. When Yuan Chuling was wondering whether he had to enter the restaurant to see what happened inside, when a familiar voice sounded in Yuan Chuling's ears. Yuan Chuling looked up and saw the one who was talking to him was Tang Xiu's mother, Su Lingyun. Excitement was immediately revealed on his face, since the problem for the transport fare to go back to school finally could be solved. "Auntie, have you moved the restaurant?" Yuan Chuling observed Su Lingyun and found that her clothes didn't even change from yesterday's attire. A guess gushed out from his heart as he asked with a caring expression. No, it's still the same restaurant. I just renovated it again. But I have made a few new seasonings and the business suddenly flourished." Upon hearing Yuan Chuling mentioned about the restaurant, a happy smile surfaced on Su Lingyun's face. Having heard Su Lingyun's answers, Yuan Chuling was quite puzzled. He wanted to ask out of his curiosity, as from where the renovation money came from. But because he was not too familiar with Su Lingyun, he felt awkward to ask about it. "Auntie, Tang Xiu got 712 points in the last monthly test, and compared to the second ranker, his marks are 79 points higher. You don't have to worry about his achievements." After keeping silence for a short while, Yuan Chuling intentionally shifted the topic to Tang Xiu as to probe whether Su Lingyun knew about Tang Xiu's whereabouts. At first, he wanted to directly ask about Tang Xiu's news, but he was afraid that Su Lingyun didn't know about the matter about Tang Xiu's leave of absence, causing her to worry about him. He had no choice but to indirectly probe Su Lingyun about it. "Xiu really got the first grade?" "That's great. I knew that he wouldn't lie to me." When Su Lingyun heard that Tang Xiu got the first grade, although she was very happy, but her excitement was normal and obviously stemmed from his imagination. But when he recalled that Su Lingyun had believed that Tang Xiu would get the top scorer spot even when the monthly test's results had yet to come out, Yuan Chuling suddenly turned silent again. However, from Su Lingyun's answer, Yuan Chuling was almost sure she also didn't know about Tang Xiu's matter. After having chatted with Su Lingyun for a while, Yuan Chuling then asked for transport fare from Su Lingyun to go back to school. When he arrived back at school, Yuan Chuling was surprised to find that a bald youth was sitting in Tang Xiu's seat. He even felt that also familiar with the baldy. "Long Jinglin, how come you are in my school?" After having observed the baldy for quite a while, Yuan Chuling asked in an astonished expression and warmly greeted him. "What the? Fatty, you're not dead yet? I thought you've committed suicide after that thing happened." Long Jinglin also warmly greeted Yuan Chuling after observing him attentively. Hearing Long Jinglin's answer, Yuan Chuling's facial muscles fiercely twitched as he snapped, "Damn. You're not dead yet, so how can I die before you?" Even though Star City might not be considered big, but it wasn't small either. The Long family deserved to be called as the food and beverages business giant in the Shuangqing province, with assets of more than 10 billion, while the Yuan family was only a rising star in the real estate business, with assets less than 1% of the Long family's. Comparing family background and capital, the Long family was, of course, worlds apart from the Yuan family, and the two families were unlikely to cross each other, much less for Yuan Chuling and Long Jinglin to become good friends. However, a lot of things were entirely fated to meet by the heavens. Yuan Chuling and Long Jinglin's friendship was not because of their family, but it was only a coincidence that they were schooling in the same school and became classmates. Although they were only classmates for only a short year, but the two of them already forged a deep friendship, leading to the close relationship between their families' businesses. Only until 2 years ago, when Yuan Chuling's parents had a divorce, did Yuan Chuling start to abandon and seal himself from social interaction, leading to the cutting off of their relationship. But the two's friendship had clearly not faded through the passage of time. Even if they hadn't seen each other for 2 years, not only had the two of them not become strangers and unfamiliar, but instead turned more affectionate and warm. "I'm looking for Tang Xiu. Do you know where Tang Xiu is?" Long Jinglin straightforwardly asked Yuan Chuling after having chatted for a while. "You came for my eldest brother? What's your purpose to look for him?" Upon hearing that Long Jinglin actually came for Tang Xiu, an astonished expression surfaced on Yuan Chuling's face. To his knowledge, these two people wouldn't mix in the same world. Tang Xiu is your eldest brother? Long Jinglin's lips twitched as he heard the answer, as he recalled how he was begging and tangling Tang Xiu, even calling him a master. A little bit of pain suddenly bit his intestines. Of course, his brain is smarter than mine, his grades are better than mine, he's more handsome than me, he's sincere and honest, as well as caring and understanding for his buddies. How can not recognize him as my eldest brother? Yuan Chuling patiently explained, because he thought that Long Jinglin felt that Tang Xiu was unworthy to become his eldest brother, even though he didn't know for what matter Long Jinglin was looking for him. Hey, you haven't said for why you're looking for my eldest brother. Yuan Chuling couldn't help but ask after he found Long Jinglin was a little dazed after he spoke. The reason I want to find him is that I need Tang Xiu's help. Have you heard about Walled Hill Village's project? My family planned to reform our food and beverages businesses into a tourism catering business and was targeting Walled Hill Village. But we never expected that other families were also eyeing this project and then decided to determine the winner in a gambling bet. Long Jinglin didn't even hide the slightest thing from Yuan Chuling and told him the full details. Wait a sec. I don't get it. You want eldest brother to help you gamble? The problem is he's a well-known well-behaved mommy's boy. Never once did he ever enter the casino, and there's no way in hell he knows any gambling techniques. Yuan Chuling's eyes stared wide as he spoke in an astonished expression and lost his cool when he heard Long Jinglin's explanation. Chapter 33, Carving the Clouds and Cut Out the Moon. A well-behaved mommy's boy? A strange expression surfaced on Long Jinglin's face as he heard Yuan Chuling's description of Tang Xiu. Would a well-behaved mommy's boy enter the game hall? Could the very same well-behaved mommy's boy make the game hall's boss lose his coolness and manners? Wait. Hold on. What is with that strange expression? Could it be that those bastards have spoken the truth? Having clearly seen the changes in Long Jinglin's expression, Yuan Chuling subconsciously glanced at Su Xiangfei's direction. When Yuan Chuling had just entered the classroom this morning, he heard someone spreading rumors and said that, after Tang Xiu left yesterday's evening class, he had gone to the game hall and played there all night. Su Xiangfei, Su Duanxin, and Tan Lichuan were the source for the rumors. Everyone easily believed the rumors spread out by this trio, because the fact was, Tang Xiu really didn't come back to the dorm last night. They spoke about Tang Xiu with a disdain and contempt-filled expression. Even if Tang Xiu got poor results, but to go as far as leaving to spend all night to play slot machines, wasn't it the same with the broken moral and mental sickness? But when Tang Xiu's monthly tests results came out, the direction of public opinion immediately changed. Everyone thought that the rumors were intentionally spread out by Su Xiangfei, Su Duanxin, and Tan Lichuan to discredit Tang Xiu because the three of them were well known to often go out and play in the game hall. But never once did everyone hear about Tang Xiu entering the game hall. Besides, entering the game hall was not the worst thing everyone ever did, since most of the students in the ordinary class, in fact, had played at the game hall and many of them also had played the game all night long. So even if what Su Xiangfei's trio had said were true, for class 10 students, it was not enough to even loathe Tang Xiu in the slightest bit. They even felt closer and thought that he was not an out-of-reach kind of existence. On the contrary, they were much more loathing Su Xiangfei, Su Duanxin, and Tan Lichuan's behavior since they were starting rumors and causing trouble, ratting about their own classmates to the teachers behind his back. This was not a gentleman behavior, this was a dishonorable behavior. This was the power of scoring 712 points in the monthly tests results. This was the power of snatching out the first rank in grade. Su Xiangfei's trio apparently didn't expect that not only did they fail to discredit Tang Xiu and get him punished, but instead got themselves alienated by all their classmates. It was just like they were trying to get the advantages but ended up losing worse, while also suffering a double loss after trying to trick somebody. Those bastards? Following Yuan Chuling's sighs, Long Jinglin also looked at the direction of Su Xiangfei's trio as a trace of coldness flashed from his eyes. Yesterday, Long Jinglin was also aware that Su Xiangfei, Su Duanxin, and Tan Lichuan were trailing behind Tang Xiu because he also had been following Tang Xiu. Moreover, he also heard this trio's curses and disrespecting words towards Tang Xiu. At first, Long Jinglin only thought that this trio were completely passers-by. They were merely jealous due to Tang Xiu's success to sweep away the Health and Prosper Club and then said those words. But he had never thought that they were Tang Xiu's classmates, causing a surge of disgust to be born in his heart. Feeling the disgust from Long Jinglin's eyes, Su Xiangfei's trio subconsciously lowered their head as their complexion turned pale. In fact, after Long Jinglin came to the classroom, Su Xiangfei's trio literally became ostriches that dove their heads into the sand. They didn't even dare to breathe, as to not to be noted by Long Jinglin. But they didn't expect that Long Jinglin eventually shifted his attention toward them. "Fatty, you and I have been friends for a long time. Why don't you tell me where Tang Xiu is?" After having stared at Su Xiangfei's trio for a while, Long Jinglin retracted his vision back and asked with an anxious expression. "You can ask me, but to whom I have to ask, huh?" Eldest brother had basically run away after he left a leave of absence for today. He said that he had something urgent to do and must go out to deal with it, recalling his previous experience. Yuan Chuling answered with a bitter expression. Long Jinglin was dumbfounded after listening to Yuan Chuling's answer. "Fatty, if Tang Xiu comes back, you must call me ASAP. If Tang Xiu does not show up by tomorrow morning, my older brother could really die this time." Having not found Tang Xiu, Long Jinglin then hurriedly left after he left his message. Yuan Chuling and Chen Yannan were staring with eyes opened wide in Class 10's classroom, as they were dumbfounded with doubting and shocked expressions on their faces. The shocks and surprises Tang Xiu had brought them in these 2 days were simply too big. First, he broke the record and became the monthly test's first scorer, and now it was followed shortly that he had unexpectedly turned into a god of gamble. Had it been someone else that told them Tang Xiu was a master in gambling techniques, they would have snapped and scoffed at him. But since it was Long Jinglin who told them and also personally came to ask Tang Xiu's help, even if they didn't want to believe it, they had no choice but to believe it. The moonlight was just like threads of thin silk, projecting a huge black shadow of the hill on the earth. On the summit of Walled Hill Village, the stars' lights were spraying down from the sky as it enveloped Tang Xiu's body. Bathing himself in the starlights, each pore on the whole of Tang Xiu's body crazily absorbed the star's lights and refined it into star essence. This was the second time Tang Xiu cultivated the heavenly art of cosmic genesis on his own initiative after his rebirth. The first time he actively practiced this heavenly art of cosmic genesis was when he found that his body accidentally fitted itself to cultivate this cultivation technique. He used to recite this heavenly art of cosmic genesis in the immortal world for days and nights. And now, since his body had been passively cultivating this cultivation technique, and out of curiosity, he was now actively practicing this heavenly art of cosmic genesis. But that time, Tang Xiu felt that something was not right since his body was torn in pain as if it was being split apart. And for a very long time, Tang Xiu was afraid to actively practice the heavenly art of cosmic genesis. But now, since he already obtained most of the raw materials and ingredients to concoct the body refining liquid, Tang Xiu also braved himself and dared to actively practice the breathing practice for the first stage of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis. Along with the star's lights seeping into his body, the star essence inside Tang Xiu's body was increasing with a speed that could be seen with the naked eye. 1, 2, 3, 4. While Tang Xiu actively practiced the heavenly art of cosmic genesis for the first time, he only produced a half sphere of star essence inside his body. Only after passively having practiced it for a month did that half sphere of star essence gradually become round, barely forming a full and complete sphere of star essence. The reason for this second time of actively practicing this heavenly art of cosmic origin was that Tang Xiu was sitting on top of a spiritual vein. And compared to the previous attempt that he actively practiced the heavenly art of cosmic origin, the starlight absorbing speed was faster by 12-fold. Thus, the star essence's condensation inside his body was also faster accordingly. Within a short time of 2 hours of practice, the star essence's sphere inside his body had changed into 4 spheres from 1. However, when the star essence's spheres inside Tang Xiu's body had reached 4, his absorption speed sharply declined as his face and shoulder muscles fiercely twitched and convulsed while thick sweat permeated out of his body, creating a pool of water under his buttocks. The strength requirement to cultivate the heavenly art cosmic genesis was really extremely high. Although Tang Xiu had been exercising his body day and night for about a month and enhanced his strength by a lot, but before he soaked and tempered himself in the body refining liquid, Tang Xiu's body was still that of an ordinary person's. A human corporeal body had a bearing and tolerance limit. While the dantian, meridians, channels, blood vessels, and internal organs also needed to rest. It was impossible to continue circulating the energy unceasingly. After the 4 star essence's spheres had been condensed inside his body, Tang Xiu felt that his body had reached the limit it could tolerate. The explosive power inside these 4 star essence's spheres felt like it would make his body explode into pieces at any time.
Ah!
The severe and acute pain made Tang Xiu look up to the sky as he hissed loudly, as if his voice could shock the world. Tang Xiu's body immediately began to roll about everywhere as his head then hit a stone. For a moment, violent gales howled on top of Walled Hill Village as it blew off sand and stones, and turned the sky and earth dark. For most of the time, Tang Xiu was fully tossing himself everywhere. Only when he had vented out part of the power inside his body did he immediately feel an intense sense of hunger, making him felt dizzy. At this very moment, Tang Xiu was even thinking that he would be able to swallow a few cattle easily. Huh? How come all those turtles and hares are gone? When Tang Xiu intended to eat the wild game he had hunted to appease his hunger, he found that all the games, except vipers and scorpions in his school bag, were gone, making him dumbfounded. It was 1 a.m. when Tang Xi began to practice. It would be impossible for someone to go uphill in the middle of the night. Those hares and turtles also had been tied with Tang Xiu's special technique, so it was impossible for them to escape. Thus he found that this was extremely strange. After having been struck with a short thrill, Tang Xiu quickly calmed himself down while a trace of excitement flashed in his eyes. Had it been ordinary people, they could have thought that the hilltop was haunted and be scared shitless, wetting their pants and running down the hilltop while weeping and wailing. But Tang Xiu was not an ordinary person to begin with. He had been living and cultivating in the immortal world for 10,000 years, and he specifically didn't come to Walled Hill Village for sightseeing. Really, I've been strolling far and wide to look for you, only to find you this easily. Tang Xiu had been desperately trying to find the fierce beast's traces and in the end didn't found it. But at this time, he knew that a kind of fierce beast had snatched the games from his hands. After calming down his mind and soul, Tang Xiu's sense was strengthened by more than 10 folds. He had been passively practicing the heavenly art of cosmic genesis for a month, resulting in his sensing ability to be strengthened, and was 100 times stronger compared to an ordinary person. His senses were 100 times stronger, and nothing could escape from Tang Xiu's eyes and ears. When Tang Xiu realized that his games were gone, he didn't even notice it at all. So this explained that the one who snatched his games was neither a human nor a wild animal, but was a fierce beast that had been cultivating. Tang Xiu didn't immediately set out to find the fierce beast, but he picked up some dry branches and wood from the roadside grove and burned it. He then leisurely started to roast the games. In his 10,000 years of life in the immortal world, Tang Xiu not only had reached the ultimate perfection in cultivation, but he was also gifted in other aspects such as alchemy, formation arrays, refining tools and devices, drawing magic symbols, and other academic or artistic attainments. All in all, he had mastered those fields at an equal expertise degree, making it very difficult for anyone to catch up to him. And Tang Xiu still had one godly skill, cooking delicious food. Only to satiate his gluttonous nature, Tang Xiu didn't hesitate to spend 100 years to enter the mundane world. He traveled all over the countries in the mortal world to find and study various legends and folklores, and finally reached mastery in the godly culinary technique of carving the clouds and cut the moon. 10 minutes later, a tempting aroma emitted out from the stick that forked the vipers in Tang Xiu's hands. Tang Xiu didn't hurry to eat it, but he took out salt, seasonings, and 13 types of spice from his school bag as he skillfully sprinkled the seasonings above the snake meat. Along with the snake skin being bloomed and popped, the white and tender snake meat's color slowly turned into a golden yellow as the meat flavor in the air became richer. Suddenly, Tang Xiu heard a loud sound that broke out of nowhere, as his nose smelled a foul and bad stench of fumes at the same time. Evil creature. I've long been waiting for you. Tang Xiu seemed to have long been anticipating such a scene. He quickly rolled down his body to the front and avoided to get sneak attack from behind, as he kicked a pile of burning charcoals and overwhelmingly poured it away in a torrent toward the direction behind his body. Chapter 34, Life and Death Struggle. The split second after Tang Xiu rolled his body to the front, a rattan as thick as a bucket ruthlessly slammed towards Tang Xiu's direction. Had Tang Xiu not quickly laid and rolled his body a moment ago, he definitely would have been pulled out by this rattan. Hiss, hiss. Having failed to pull Tang Xiu, the rattan's mouth issued a sharp and angry hiss. The thing that suddenly had sneak attacked Tang Xiu was a shocking giant python. Not only did the python's sneak attack not hurt Tang Xiu, but it actually had been injured in the eyes by the burning wood that was kicked up by Tang Xiu. As if Tang Xiu enraged it, the python's body was suddenly raised high in the air as if it was flying. Its mouth sprayed a mass of scarlet mist that enshrouded the surroundings in a 10 meters radius. Its body bolted through just like an arrow released straight from a bowstring as it directly flushed toward Tang Xiu. Even though he had held his breath, but Tang Xiu still felt a burst of dizziness for a while. The scarlet mist turned out to be highly toxic poison, and didn't even need to enter the body through breathing but could penetrate deeply through the human body skin. Tang Xiu was no different from ordinary people now, he could only try to predict and guard to take precaution against it. Thus, holding his breath in advance was already very good. But with his current cultivation, he was simply unable to control the pores on his body. While rolling about and avoiding the python's attack, Tang Xiu took out a trident dagger from his school bag and ferociously stabbed toward the python's back. Although he had escaped the python's attack once again, but Tang Xiu's face had turned extremely ugly. Although Tang Xiu still persisted to shut his mouth and nose, and relied on his willpower to not breathe after intense and fierce movements, but the pores on his body suddenly opened, causing the poison mist in his body to greatly increase. Damn. I've got to finish this quickly or else I could die in this place today. Feeling the toxin spread inside his body, a trace of coldness flashed through Tang Xiu's eyes as his mind instantly became sober. In the next moment, Tang Xiu grabbed a lot of medicinal herbs. He quickly chewed the medicinal herbs and also rolled down toward the burning firewood. While enduring the severe pain from his feet due to the burning firewood, Tang Xiu stared at the python with eyes full of fighting spirit. Previously, Tang Xiu came to Walled Hill Village to find a fierce beast, but he basically didn't calculate the danger and risk brought by the fierce beast. And this python was clearly beyond the risk that he had expected, and had even caught him unprepared. Tang Xiu had long been accustomed to having his strength in the immortal world, giving him the confidence to face any kind of odd and strange monsters. Therefore, he had yet to fully adapt to his current condition as a normal person. Fortunately, Tang Xiu had picked some medicinal herbs with detoxifying effects when he climbed the hill to prevent him being poisoned. Although these herbs couldn't fully eliminate the highly toxic poison in his body, but it could temporarily suppress it. The reason as to why Tang Xiu was drilling into the bonfire was not because he wanted to torture himself, but because he was forced to do it. Fire obviously had an expulsion effect towards the poisonous scarlet mist, as there was no scarlet mist around the bonfire. It was simply no different from Tang Xiu finding an excellent place to protect himself. Hiss. Hiss. The black python apparently also realized Tang Xiu's intention as its tail rolled and ferociously thrashed toward Tang Xiu. A trace of a cunning light flashed in the black python's eyes while Tang Xiu jumped high in the air to avoid the black python's attack. With a banging loud sound, the bonfire was suddenly thrown out into the air and not even one piece of burning firewood remained. It turned out that the black python was targeting the bonfire on the ground and not Tang Xiu. Damn evil creature, it seems that you have entered the spirit convergence stage. I will never permit you to live. Having seen such intelligence from the black python, a shocked and horrified expression flashed on Tang Xiu's face as an intense murderous intent surged up from his body. Since Tang Xiu was able to hide inside the bonfire, he was naturally able to guard against the black python's attack that destroyed the bonfire. With his rich combat experience, Tang Xiu dodged the black python's attack, and at the same time, skillfully swiveled his trident dagger as he stabbed at the 7 inches spot below the black python's head. The pitiful black python, which was still excited after destroying the bonfire, suddenly felt a sudden burst of severe pain from its vital part of the body, causing its body to suddenly freeze and turn stiff. The moment Tang Xiu's hit connected, he didn't hesitate to take out the trident dagger, stripping off a lump of flesh and blood, as he then stabbed it in and out once again. Only after having been repeatedly stabbed 3 times did the black python react from the severe pain, as it coiled and rolled over its tail, attempting to coil and grasp Tang Xiu. By now, Tang Xiu had already made a fist-sized wound 7 inches under the black python's head as blood gurgled out from the python's wound. Tang Xiu had recited and studied the heavenly art of cosmic genesis countless of times in his past incarnation. It had even been ingrained and became his instinct. Naturally, he also had thoroughly memorized the raw ingredients and materials needed to concoct the body-refining liquid for cultivating the heavenly art of cosmic genesis. The first blood's essence shed by the murderer could be said to be the most quintessence part, and Tang Xiu didn't want to miss it even for a bit. Tang Xiu's mouth mercilessly bit the fist-sized wound 7 inches under the black python's head with lightning speed. At the same time, Tang Xiu's hands firmly clung onto the python's body as to prevent to be thrown off by the python. The python absolutely didn't expect that the tide of the fight could be reversed this fast and that it might even be defeated. When it was aware that it had lost its superiority against an ant and was even facing a life-threatening danger, it became anxious. With a loud banging sound, the black python's tail fiercely thrashed at Tang Xiu's arm as the pain made Tang Xiu's face fiercely twitch. In fact, the black python's tail was originally trying to strike at Tang Xiu's head. But at the critical moment, he didn't hesitate to sway his head to the side and escape the disaster. Evil creature, I don't believe that I can't kill you today. Tang Xiu clearly felt that the black python had broken one of his arms, leaving only one arm intact. Having been forced to endure the severe pain from his arm, a trace of a fierce expression flashed across Tang Xiu's eyes. In a split second, he gripped the trident dagger with his teeth as he rapidly stabbed the black python's previous wound. When the trident dagger had fully lodged on the wound, Tang Xiu continued to suck out the black python's blood's essence once again. Under the sharp pain, the black python rolled and raged everywhere as it sprayed out a thick scarlet poisonous mist. It let out hissing voices as its nose sent out gloomy and cold air, sending the chills to anyone's heart who look at it. When the black python had amassed its strength back and prepared its tail to trash on Tang Xiu again, Tang Xiu fiendishly grinned as he used his mouth to rotate the trident dagger deeper into the black python's body. Under the rotating movements of the trident dagger, the black python's accumulated strength that it had desperately amassed instantly vanished as its attack also was resolved in a flash, Being aware that its tail couldn't effectively attack Tang Xiu, the black python finally turned chaotic as it began to bump its body along with Tang Xiu's body against the boulder and old trees on the hill. Tang Xiu vigilantly observed the surroundings. He quickly and skillfully hid to avoid being hit each time it would hit the stones and trees and tried to minimize the damage to his body, whilst at the same time almost not stopping to continue sucking the black python's blood's essence. With Tang Xiu frantically sucking its blood's essence, the black python's blood's essence gurgled out crazily as its strength was becoming weakened endlessly. Finally, the black python seemed to be aware that its life might come to an end. It didn't frantically struggle again, but coiled up its body and fiercely shot through its head straight toward a particular direction. When Tang Xiu's body was raising high in the air, he was greatly alarmed as his face turned deathly pale. It turned out that, this time, the black python didn't hit against the boulder and the old tree along with Tang Xiu's body, but it straightly flung itself and fell down the hill. The black python seemed to realize that it couldn't do anything to Tang Xiu, and even it also could lose its life. It didn't hesitate to choose to perish together with Tang Xiu. Could it be that today I will die together with this python? While listening to the whistling sounds of the wind that pierced his ears, whilst also looking at the unseen dark ground downhill, despair and desperateness gushed out from Tang Xiu's heart as unwillingness filled him. No. I came to this world and finally could see Mom with great difficulty. I must live. In a split second of effort, Tang Xiu set firm his mind as a resolute conviction flashed from his eyes. Tang Xiu took out the trident dagger, and in the next second, frantically pulled himself out from the black python's body. The black python had no strength left at this moment. Under the ravaging from Tang Xiu, it was unable to even resist and could only let Tang Xiu make shocking and terrible scars on its body. However, a look of astonishment quickly gushed out from Tang Xiu's complexion. Because, aside from the 7 inches spot from the black python's head, the trident dagger was unable to even pierce the other parts of the black python's body. Tang Xiu then realized that had he not caught the black python unprepared and stabbed its only weakness, in the 7 inches under its head, he would have been unable to even damage the black python's body today. It was even extremely possible to have lost his own life to this black python. Tang Xiu was dazed for a moment. It was already more than 100 meters since he had fallen down with the black python. At this time, Tang Xiu could already faintly see the houses at the hill foot as he could also see the peculiar rugged rocky terrains. My body is but no different with mortal flesh. Falling down with this kind of speed will definitely turn me into minced meat. Upon seeing that his body was coming closer to the ground, anxiousness and deep worries increasingly engulfed Tang Xiu's heart. His eyes were just like an eagle's as he sharply looked below, for the chance of survival. Looking far down at the ground below, Tang Xiu could only see stones and rocks. There were neither trees or swamps, causing Tang Xiu to almost fall into despair. When Tang Xiu was thinking that his death was imminent, a drop of rainwater suddenly gently fell onto his face, causing him to stare blankly for a moment. How could it be raining while the sky was bright? A puzzled expression filled Tang Xiu's eyes as he looked up to the sky and saw the whole vast sky was full of stars with a dazzling and bright moonlight above his head. I found it. Tang Xiu's eyes brightly shone when he found that the drop of water that fell on his face was not a raindrop, but the blood's essence that flowed out from the black python's body. He finally found a chance to survive. Chapter 35, The Ingredients and Materials completed. It was 3 a.m., the darkest time before dawn. This was also the time when farmers around the hill's vicinity were mostly still in deep sleep. But a loud noise, as if a muffled thunder struck the flat land, was suddenly heard near Walled Hill Village's foot, waking up the sleeping villagers. The sleeping villagers only half-consciously mumbled to themselves as they turned over and continued to sleep. Some villagers carefully listened, and apart from the roaring voice of the owls, there were no other voices, so they also slowly went back to sleep again. Suddenly, someone surprisingly appeared on top of the serpent that had fallen to the ground. This person and the snake had an awe-inspiring fight before in Walled Mountain Village. It was Tang Xiu and the black python. The black python had already died at this time, its body curled up and lumped. Tang Xiu was standing in the center of its coiled body, grimacing in pain with a fearful expression lingering on his face. At the last moment of life and death, Tang Xiu found that the black python was going to die, so he didn't struggle anymore. When he turned his eyes, he didn't hesitate to use the black python's body to shield himself. After a few breaths of time, Tang Xiu was like a dumpling being wrapped and solidly packaged, completely covering all parts of his body. At that moment, the black python, also aware about Tang Xiu's intention and subconsciously wanted to use its hard rock, solid body and tremendous strength to convolute Tang Xiu's body and turn him into mincemeat. But when the black python was about to execute this move, its body had already crashed to the ground. The black python's life was already hanging on a line, so it instantly died by the huge impact and was unable to hurt Tang Xiu again as its hard rock, solid body cracked and was lacerated. Only after having collected himself did Tang Xiu untie himself from the python's tail's wrapping as he crawled up from the ground, and stood shakily. Upon seeing the smashed and badly mangled black python that was covered with its blood, Tang Xiu couldn't help but secretly feel very fortunate. Had it not been because his life was hanging on the line and an idea was born in desperation to save himself, he could have turned into mincemeat with the black python. The black python's body was just like a hard solid rock after all, while his body was that of mortals that could collapse in a single blow. Although Tang Xiu finally survived due to using the black python's body during the critical moment and had covered all of his body, but under such a huge force of impact, his head still received a few bruises. After having spent a lot of effort, Tang Xiu gradually collected himself as he took out the trident dagger and cut a little piece of black python's skin. This black python's skin from its whole body, aside from being used to concoct some medicine, the skin is also enough to make 3 sets of clothes. One for Mom, one for me, and the last one is for Fatty. Tang Xiu began to calculate after skin the python's skin with difficulty. The black python's internal organs are the main ingredients for concocting medicine, but this black python's internal organs are a bit too large, and I wouldn't need this much to concoct the body refining liquid. I can use the rest to concoct medicinal liquor and use it to recuperate Mom's body, and sell the rest. Part of the black python's tendons and muscles will be used to concoct the body refining liquid, and the rest will be used to refine some tools. But this black python's meat, although it's very big, but it's poisonous and clearly can't be consumed by ordinary people. It seems that I'm the only who can enjoy this meat. Tang Xiu spent the next 3 hours to finish separating the materials taken from the black python's body and piled them up. But after he stood and straightened up his body, he was quite stunned. He didn't know for how many years had this black python been practicing, since its body was just like a thick and hard bucket, of about 20 meters in length. The piled materials separated from its whole body were unexpectedly nearly his height. Having no interspatial ring is really troublesome. Tang Xiu wryly smiled and looked around. After having thought that nobody would come this early to this rocky area, he climbed back to the hilltop. Tang Xiu had left his school bag with his cell phone, wallet and other stuff inside it before he roasted the games. Half an hour later, Tang Xiu had successfully climbed the hilltop and found his school bag was completely in a mess. The rare and precious medicinal herbs, along with some special emergency items in his school bag, had basically already been destroyed when Tang Xiu was fighting the black python. One thing that made Tang Xiu heave a relieved sigh was that he found that the cell phone he had just bought yesterday afternoon was still intact in his school bag. The cell phone screen was unexpectedly quite strong and even shined. If the cell phone was broken, Tang Xiu was certain that a lot of people would be shocked when he shipped these black python's materials piles to the main city. Banzhou, find a good leak-proof truck and send it over to me. And tell Dingzi to find a freezer compartment, Tang Xiu spoke after dialing Bancho's number. Banzhou and Dingxi were exactly the thugs that came along with He San, who caused havoc at Linjia restaurant a few days ago. After Tang Xiu ruthlessly tidied them up, they blindly followed and were only obedient to Tang Xiu. The day when Tang Xiu had beaten up He San's gang in the restaurant, he didn't let off these 7 thugs easily but used his restriction technique on their bodies to avoid that they would break their promise to renovate the restaurant and run away from it. When He San's gang was leaving the restaurant, they indeed ignored Tang Xiu's words. He San and Lu Mao, Banzhou and Dingxi, and the others were also the same. After having been tortured by Tang Xiu, they couldn't wait to hide far away from Tang Xiu, and the farther from him was the better. It was because the impression Tang Xiu had carved into their souls was too deep. He was too fierce, cold, cruel, and ruthless, as well as having such formidable strength, causing them to be unable to even have the chance to resist him. He San and the others thought that as long as they found a place to hide, it was impossible for Tang Xiu to find them. They thought that they would be alright as long as they didn't make any trouble with Linjia restaurant. For fear that Tang Xiu would track and find them to Shangguan Real Estate, He San and the others didn't dare to go to Shangguan Real Estate and ask for the remaining half of the reward. After most of the time passed by, they knew that Tang Xiu was only strolling around for a while at the restaurant's entrance before he was leaving, and he seemingly thought that they were helpless. They couldn't help but feel glad and thought that their decision was correct. Only after the night came, when they were together at their gathering place, did He San and his gang regret it black and blue. Acute and severe pain struck He San and his gang almost at the same time. They even went to the hospital to look for the doctor to cure it and had a complete checkup, only to find that there was nothing wrong with their body. Thus, there was also neither any means or way to stop these pains. When He San and the others asked about each other's condition, they finally identified the same thing. These acute pains were definitely related to Tang Xiu, and only he himself could release them from this pain. Since the 7 of them were unable to heal the pain, and it was also already midnight, they had no choice but to gather in front of Linjia restaurant. Naturally, it was also impossible for Tang Xiu to wait for them in the middle of the night in Linjia restaurant. Only during the next morning did Tang Xiu calmly arrive at Linjia restaurant, while the severe and acute pains had been torturing He San and his gang the whole night. Upon seeing Tang Xiu, He San and his gang were just like the sons seeing their parents as they kowtowed and begged him to release them from the pain. They also gave their regret and remorse as well as giving their pledge, and showed sincere and honest attitudes. Tang Xiu smiled and laughed. He didn't make things more difficult and directly helped them stop the pain. He then left the message, "Be good in renovating the restaurant," and quickly left, leaving He San and his gang standing in front of the restaurant whilst looking at each other. But He San and his gang didn't dare to ignore Tang Xiu's words this time, either did they dare to goof off and cheat. He San and his gang basically racked their brains and gave their all to renovate the restaurant as to satisfy Tang Xiu, since they wanted the pain to be removed completely. In just 2 days, He San and his gang had completely rebuilt Linjia restaurant. It cost them almost 600,000 yuan. Not only did they spend more than the payment from the Shangguan Real Estate to pay Tang Xiu in front, but they also had to empty their own savings for it. It was because the pain caused by a restriction technique was really unbearable. Not only did it ravage the body, but it also tortured their souls. Never did they want to suffer such pains anymore. Tang Xiu was very satisfied with He San and his gang's work's efficiency and quality. He removed the restriction technique on Banzhou, Dingxi and his body, and even directly cured the injuries on their body personally. But He San and Lu Mao were the exceptions. Tang Xiu only lifted the restriction on their body, and refused to heal their injuries. Tang Xiu said that they were already very lucky that they were still alive, so they naturally mustn't expect that he would heal them. However, as the proverb said, an exchange of blows might lead to friendship. After having gone through this fight, deep fear and respect towards Tang Xiu was ingrained deep in He San and Lu Mao, as they were also afraid to provoke him anymore. But Banzhou, Dingzi and the others were in awe and regarded Tang Xiu as a son of heaven. They could see that Tang Xiu regarded others justly and knew the distinction between gratitude and grudges. Therefore, not only were they not afraid of Tang Xiu, but instead brazenly and shamelessly followed Tang Xiu, in the hope that Tang Xiu would teach them a bit his martial arts. But naturally, Tang Xiu was too lazy to respond to Banzhou, Dingzi and the others, although he also didn't deliberately alienate them either. It was because Tang Xiu also realized that the world would eternally never lack small figures like Banzhou and Dingzi. People like them were often humble and unworthy, but once they were breaking out at a critical moment, their strength could have been more terrible than those of great figures. Before he had enough strength, Tang Xiu didn't hesitate to use these muscles for his needs. Banzhou did move very fast. It was 6 a.m., and he already rushed and drove a big truck for half an hour and arrived at the appointed place at Walled Hill Village's foot. The other 3 thugs that previously created havoc in Linjia restaurant also arrived at the same time with Banzhou at Walled Hill Village. Boss. Dingzi hasn't come yet since he is still searching for the appropriate warehouse. You said that the fewer people that knew about this matter, the better. So I only called the 3 of them. Tell us what we need to do. After seeing Tang Xiu, Banzhou quickly came over and reported with an excited expression. Banzhou's gang had been following Tang Xiu for a few days, but Tang Xiu only gave them cold shoulders. This was the first time for Tang Xiu to ask help from them. This meant that Tang Xiu no longer disliked them, causing Banzhou's gang to naturally feel extremely happy.